Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Becca and on this channel we talk about houseplants. So today we're going to be doing a follow-up video of my plant patio makeover, get ready my patio video. I got a ton of questions about how I put houseplants outside, so I'm really excited to answer those questions and debunk some myths and just help you out in general with that. I really wanted to film this video out on my patio. I even started filming it out there, but it was genuinely so loud and I just cannot handle the road noise and I don't want my video to be distracting, even though it is very beautiful out there. So I live in Tucson, Arizona, which I believe is zone 9B, which means that it is very hot and dry where I live. So that will sort of inform the rest of this video so you understand where I'm coming from and you can adjust these tips and tricks based on where you live and your environment. There are a lot of things that you guys asked about that are just not relevant to me, like squirrels and walnuts and things like that, because I've never seen a walnut tree in Tucson in my whole life. I've seen squirrels here and there, but let me just say in general, I never worry about squirrels. And I know that for most people in other places that is a genuine concern. So after you watch this video, I really suggest that you do additional research that is more relevant to your region. I will be giving general information, but very specific things I just can't answer. So people that you could talk to about this are YouTubers in, closer to your general area or environment, Instagrammers with the same situation, or a garden center employee. They probably know a lot about this. So as a general rule of thumb, plants that have thicker, more succulent leaves will do better outside. In my experience, they're a little bit more drought tolerant and just a little bit more human tolerant, if you will. They can kind of handle the elements, and I really enjoy putting those types of plants outside. If a plant is hardy inside, it will likely be hardy outside. If you have a ficus, please do yourself and that plant a favor and just go put it outside because it will be a lot happier. I do have certain plants that live outside year-round, and that is all of my cactus, euphorbia, and succulents. Those plants can handle really low temperatures. I actually keep them out there even when it freezes, although if it's like a really cold night, like I don't know, under 20 degrees, I will bring them inside. If you have daytime temperatures that are consistently below freezing or even around that, I would definitely suggest bringing cactus, succulents, euphorbia inside for the winter. Whenever it does freeze, like it doesn't freeze very often where I live, but whenever it does, I will huddle them together and cover them if I can, or I'll bring them inside if that's not possible. But also my mom told me that I don't even have to do that because I have a covered patio, and I didn't even think about that. So if you have a covered patio and you live in a place similar to me, you might not even have to bring those plants in or cover them when it freezes. You want to make sure that your nighttime temperatures are consistently above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So if your temperatures are still fluctuating a little bit, that might be a nice time to start acclimating them outside. So what you can do is put them outside during the day and then bring them back inside during the night, just so that they are starting to get used to the difference in sunlight. It will be a lot more sunlight than they get in the home, so that could be a shock for certain plants. I personally don't do that because I bring a lot of tropicals outside and I don't want to bring them out and then in and then out and then in. So I just wait until it is consistently around 50 degrees, give or take a few degrees here and there, and then I will bring them outside and leave them there until November, when it drops below 50 degrees consistently again. Sunlight is a really big factor in bringing your houseplants outside because they will be receiving exponentially more light outside than they are inside, which means a lot of things, and most of them are good things. So let's start with the bad because we want to end on a good note. What can happen if your plants are not used to that much light is a sunburn. A sunburn should only occur if the leaf surface is exposed to the sun, or maybe even like a reflection off of a window from the sun. Anytime I have had a plant under full shade, it has never gotten sunburn, but when it has been, in more direct light immediately, it gets a sunburn. But the good news is the new leaf that pops out will be better acclimated to that environment, so it shouldn't get a sunburn. I would not suggest immediately putting out indoor plants into direct sun because they have not been acclimated to that environment, and you will have a really ugly plant if you do that. Definitely acclimate them slowly, putting them out in the sun just for a little bit of time and then bringing them back under and going back and forth until they are fully acclimated. There are actually a lot of plants that would really benefit from getting direct sun, like the bird of paradise and like basically all ficus. So if they are getting like larger amounts of sun, they will grow so much faster. Do you guys remember that ficus that was right here and I was like, I hate this plant? It has put out 2 leaves in a matter of 2 weeks since it has been outside, and when it was inside, it did nothing. I said nothing. Like, it got spider mites, it dropped leaves, it got yellow leaves, nothing, and now that it's outside, it's thriving again. So she just is not meant to be inside. She's a wild girl, I get it. And maybe you have plants like that too. So definitely experiment with putting your plants outside if you have the space for it. Even when your plant is under the patio, not getting direct sun, they are still getting more sun than they would inside, because the sun and the light is coming from all directions, or usually 3 directions if you have it backed up against a wall. This is something that I learned from Bloom and Grow Radio podcast. I will have the specific episode linked down below. It is all about light. That's an episode that I found really, really helpful and also really encouraged me to put my plants outside. When the plant is getting more light, they will be using more resources, which means number 1, they will be growing at a faster rate, and number 2, they will need a lot more water than they would inside. So somebody asked if I switch out the soil or upgrade the pot whenever I put a plant outside, and the answer is no, mostly because I'm a little bit lazy, but I don't want to have to switch out the soil twice a year because that seems like a lot of work and probably a little bit stressful for the plant. So what I do is I'm just a little bit more aware of the watering schedule. I think that I water my outside plants 1 to 2 times a week, just depends on where they are on the patio. My hanging plants can honestly stand to be watered twice a week, but I water them like once a week. And then all of the plants that are fully under the cover get watered once a week. They will show signs that they are thirsty much faster than they would inside because, again, they're using more resources and soaking up that water a lot faster. Also, the heat has something to do with this as well. They will dry out a lot faster, so you will have to be more aware. Someone asked me what I do if there is rain. With the positioning of my house and just the way things are set up, I don't ever have rainwater getting into the pots, so I don't ever worry about double watering with rainwater and then me watering. But if you are in a situation where you are concerned about that, I would say pick one or the other. Are you going to let your plants get water from the rain, or are you going to water them? Because I think in some regions, rain is super unpredictable and you don't want it to rain 2 days after you just watered the plant. And like I said before, the plant is going to dry out a lot faster. So if that did happen, I genuinely don't think it's the end of the world. Really, rotting will only happen if the plant is allowed to stay absolutely soaking wet for long periods of time. And you can do a lot of the heavy work of preventing that when you are choosing the soil that you put your plant in. So maybe keep like a watering log for your plants out there so that you know when it has gotten water. Or honestly, like we do with our indoor plants, just stick your fingers in it, and if it feels dry, water it. If it doesn't, leave it. Something else to consider when you're bringing your houseplants outside is all of the things that live outside that might be very intrigued by your plants. So this could include squirrels, birds, someone said slugs, other types of bugs in general. And I will say that I have minimal issues with this just based on where I live. I do live also in the city as well as in the desert. So we don't have that much life happening around here. We don't have squirrels, and we definitely don't have slugs. Like, that's a definite no. But I do know that if you sprinkle cayenne pepper, red pepper flakes, and garlic pepper around your plants, that could prevent all of these things from getting in there, especially squirrels. They really don't like that kind of stuff. And there definitely are harmful bugs that could attack your plants, but I would say preventing them the way that you do inside would be the same outside. So with insecticidal soap, neem oil, things like that is a really great way to keep those things away. Something that I experience a lot on my outside plants is spiders and moths, and that's just something that I personally need to be aware of. Not for the moths, like the moths are fine, they don't ever bother me, but the spiders. So we do have some pretty scary spiders here in Tucson, and it's just something that I'm aware of. I don't stick my hands directly into the plant without looking, just because I've trained myself not to stick my hands places I'm not looking. Living out here, like rattlesnakes, brown recluse, black widow, like all of these crazy things will bite you and your life will be forever altered. So I just don't do that, so you shouldn't either. Spiders are actually pretty beneficial because they will eat all of the bad bugs, but if it is one of those more poisonous spiders, like obviously you need to take care of that. But general like house spiders and outside spiders are totally fine. I personally haven't had any issues with bugs outside of that. If I had a hose, I would probably hose down all of my outside plants like once a day, just as a morning routine thing, just to maybe knock off any bugs that are there. I'm not sure how effective that really would be, but it would also just help the plant maybe get an extra drink. So someone asked if I've ever had a plant stolen from my porch, and the answer is no. I've never ever had a plant stolen, thank God. I think I would be really, really sad if that happened, but also it wouldn't be the end of my world because nothing that's living out there is so important to me that it would really crush me. I don't put super, super valuable plants out there. Like, I would never put my elbow monstera on my patio. Like, I would never do that unless I lived in a super isolated place where I knew people weren't going to be walking past my house all the time. If you are concerned about someone stealing your plants, just don't put anything super valuable and irreplaceable out there. Another element that we have not talked about yet is wind. So I definitely get a lot of wind in my porch area. That's kind of like a wind tunnel sometimes. I actually am in the camp that believes that the wind might be a good thing for the plants because it forces them to like dig a little bit deeper in their pots to steady themselves and also create a stronger trunk, especially for the ficus trees that I have outside. Now there is wind that it will like topple over my plants, and I noticed that the plants that fall over the most are the ones in plastic pots. So all of my plants in clay or terracotta or ceramic pots never fall over, and they especially don't fall over after they've been freshly watered. So one of my plants that topples over quite often in a plastic pot, I have tied the trunk of it to a cable cord that we don't use, and I haven't had any issues with that at all, so that has really helped it to stay upright. Other than that, you know your region better than I do, so if you feel that the wind is too high and it's starting to damage your plants, definitely bring them inside because that's just not worth one of your plants snapping. And if you are in a region where it is consistently windy, maybe you could put up some sort of wind barrier, maybe a shade cloth would help kind of break off a little bit of that wind. In my experience, even high winds hasn't affected my plants negatively because they just end up sort of bending to the wind. So really you just want to make sure that they are anchored really well in their pot. Something that I was really concerned and hesitant about with putting my plants outside here in Tucson was the ambient heat. So it gets up to like over 100 degrees, like 115, 120 degrees sometimes, which is extremely hot. And I learned from a local nursery owner actually during a Bloom and Grow Radio podcast episode that I was on, and he told us that plants are not affected by the ambient heat. It is more so the sun. So if I can do it in 120 degree heat, you can do it in whatever weather you're experiencing, because I'm pretty sure no one can top 120. And if you can, well, you get it. You get the prize. If you want to know more information about ambient heat and things like that, I would suggest listening to that episode. I'll have that link down below as well. I will likely be showing you guys how I'm bringing these plants back inside when it comes winter time, but honestly, that's probably going to be a lot later than you guys. Like I said earlier, I probably won't be bringing them in until November, maybe even December. So for those of you that it gets cold in like September, October, November, I will share with you right now what I do. You could acclimate them back inside by bringing them inside for a few hours and then leaving them outside for, you know, most of the day, and then slowly increasing the amount of time inside just so there is less of a shock to coming inside. However, I have never had issues with bringing my plants inside immediately, and that is just something that I decided to risk. If you don't want to risk it, you can definitely acclimate them slowly. Again, that just seems like a lot of work that I don't want to do. There are going to be bugs and things living in your plants most likely, so something that I do is give them like a little bit of a power wash and then spritz them with insecticidal soap and neem oil. That usually will take care of anything that is living on the plant. And that's really it. It's nothing special. I really hope that this video was helpful in debunking some myths or answering some questions that you had. Again, if you have more questions about the subject, leave them in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and giving me a reason to get ready today. You know, I haven't gotten ready in months. Well, not months, weeks, days. It feels like it's been a long time since I've gotten ready, really. So thank you. If you're not already, make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more helpful plant content and smiles and laughs and just general planty hangs. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.